Hi, everybody. It's MattHawes of the Happy Show, and I'm here today with a video vlog of sorts. It's kind of a sad one in some ways, even though I'm going to have a nice memory to share about this person that you're seeing here. This is Peter David, the comic book writer, and I'm recording this on May 25th, 2025, the day before Memorial Day. He passed away this weekend, unfortunately. He had health issues for many years, but he was a legendary writer for comic books that had long runs on several titles. He's best known perhaps for his run on the Incredible Hulk, which was something like 12 years that he wrote the Incredible Hulk. He was responsible for making the Hulk as Joe Fixit, the bouncer from Las Vegas, that a lot of people got a kick out of, which was basically returning the Hulk to well, he was already kind of returned to his gray form right before Peter David got on the book, but then Peter David took and ran with that. And anyway, he did that title. He had wrote Spectacular Spider-Man before that, Atlantis Chronicles. He wrote Young Justice. He wrote some issues of Elvira. He was a Star Trek novelist. Did a lot of stuff in the business. He was writing Captain Marvel and also Supergirl at the time that the story happened that I'm going to share with you. So basically, Peter David, along with John Byrne and other comic book talents, were on the AOL message boards. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and to show you how long ago, again, AOL had message boards. And that was back when they were internet provider, not just emails and such. And so I was frequenting those message boards. I was on both Peter David and John Burns, which was kind of funny because they were in their feud. They had a feud for many years, and anyway, that's a story for another day. But I was alternating between their boards mainly at the time, and Peter David, would be on his board sharing stories and discussing things and conversing with fans and such. Around the same time, I'd started a few years before on eBay selling stuff, and I just decided for a lark to do this goofy drawing. This one right here. If it looks horrible, it was meant to look horrible. Now, if you follow my YouTube channel regularly, you know that I'm an artist, and hopefully you know I'm a much better artist than what this would represent or what people would think seeing this. But I decided to do this just as a lark. I was doing a bunch of silly drawings and such at the time and just putting them on eBay just to see if anybody would actually bid on them. And this was back in the day when the starting bid was something like 30 cents, and so if somebody did bid on it, it ain't necessarily I would get rich off of it anyway. But I was mostly doing also tease with me a friend, tease him in a sense about it and send him the link or whatever to try and get him to bid on it. And he never did. So anyway, I drew it in Microsoft Paint. So this thing never existed in pen ink form. It only existed as a drawing. This resolution, that's the best it ever was. It was never drawn in high resolution either. And I was going to put it on a what do you call it? Computer paper, printing or a photograph. Inkjet photo paper is what I was going to print it out on for the lucky winner. So, and that was the best you could get because again, there was technically no original of this. And I stated that in the auction. I did this whole over the top description. I'm sure I have it published somewhere or printed somewhere. But it said like something about this being a battle, clash of the titans and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I was making it so over the top that I would have assumed that anybody would realize it wasn't drawn by a kid, even though a lot of people thought it probably was. And that factors into the story because somebody on the Peter David message board, they decided to, or I guess they came across it and decided to share it with the group there, and I was already in the group, so I was like, "Oh, that's funny. They're sharing the auction," but I didn't speak up about it because I wanted to see what people would say about it before I made any kind of comment about it being mine. And of course, most people did guess it was a kid that drew it, but one person was a little more astute. And he said, I don't think so. He was talking about the foreshortening here around Storm's arm up here. And he says, I don't think it, I know it's that foreshortening. Foreshortening. He says, I think there's somebody just having a laugh, basically. And I was like, oh, the jig's up. But anyway, so Peter David ended up actually placing a bid on this, and it kind of amazed me. I wrote about this in a letter that was published in the November 2001 issue of Wizard magazine, the comic book that was about, or the sorry, the magazine that was about the comic book industry and such. Spy movie, as you can see, was getting ready to come out because it was November 2001, so that movie actually wouldn't come out until 2002. But anyway, so I wrote to them because he actually did win Peter David won the auction. Now, right here, you'll see a signature. That is Peter David's signature. I got signed later, which I'll explain. But I wrote, "Hi, Jim." Jim was McLaughlin, I think it was the guy's name. I try to remember. Was the editor of Wizard that answered the letters page. Letters. Anyway, I wrote, "I am the owner operator of Comics Limited in Evansville, Indiana." And I talk about how I was an aspiring artist, still draw, of course. Well, one day a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling particularly silly and decided to post an auction online of a piece of art I created. But this piece would be intentionally bad. I mean, horrendous. The piece, which I called Wolverine vs. Storm, was created in the spirit of fun to see how fans would respond to a nonsensical depiction of a clash between two popular Marvel characters. I showed the auction to a friend of mine and decided to place a and he did place a bid on it. I didn't remember that he placed a bid. Anyway, imagine my surprise when I checked in on the auction one day and discovered that the high bidder was the famed writer of stuff, including Supergirl and Captain Marvel, Peter David. I couldn't believe it, but apparently Mr. David found my little picture humorous enough to place a bid on it. Not only that, he won the bid for a whopping $1.80. He seemed very pleasant when he responded to my email after the auction. Apparently, though, he was under the assumption that it was a child's drawing. Gee, I thought I'd done a better drawing, or gee, I did a better drawing. A better job. I can't read. Gee, I did a better job at drawing badly than I had thought. Thankfully, he really does have a good sense of humor. Now I got to decide how to frame the check when it arrives. They wrote, the best part is once you frame that check, Peter David's checking account will be off by $1.80 for the next 30 years. And this letter itself was published almost 25 years ago. So just imagine if he had sent me an actual check, but that's not what he did. He sent me in a reused envelope. It looked like it was a bank envelope or something because it had a little window or whatever, the plastic window. But he had sent the letter to me in that, and it seemed almost like he was trying not to give me an autograph of sorts because I was going to frame the check because, of course, it would have his signature on it and such. And I thought it'd just be fun. But I also was, like I said, expecting to get a check, but I actually got $5 bill, which was nice. It was more than $1.80, so I kind of got a tip there. But I actually wanted to have that signature, and also on the letter he kind of signed it, but as you can see right here, it's a send to Peter Dave. Now this down below he did sign but that was signed later. But he wrote, send to Peter David at the P.O. Box. Now, the P.O. Box, I guess there's not a problem sharing here because not only is this nearly 25 years ago, but unfortunately, since he's passed recently, I doubt that that's going to matter there, but to share it here. But anyway, he, like I said, later got him to sign this when I saw him at a convention because I had always wanted to get it signed since I never got that proper signature. See, this is the envelope with the P.O. Box written there and such. So that's the letter. Like I said, I had him sign that, and then I also saw him at that convention where I had him sign the book there, the magazine. But yeah, so that's my Peter David story. I hope you enjoyed it. It is sad because I know he's dealt with health issues for years and such, and it finally took its toll. And he leaves behind, of course, his wife, and then he had, I think, a couple of daughters. I think he might, at this point, have grandchildren. I haven't followed him as much in recent years. But my condolences go out to his family and friends and to all the fans that he had. And, um, it is a shame. He was 68, I believe they say, and seemed very pleasant to me, and was glad to have this story to share with everyone. And I thank you for watching my video, and hopefully you'll check out the next one. And rest in peace, Peter.